You can access the entire episode now on our website, forbiddenknowledge.news, Rokfin, Rumble, and all podcast platforms. You mentioned the powers of belief or lack of belief, and I've talked to many different researchers, magicians, energy workers that seem to have a consensus that belief plays a huge role in whether or not we can even perceive some of these things, whether or not we will actually tap in to some of these abilities and realms that surround us at all time. If we have it shut off, if we have our beliefs completely shut off to them, we may never have this altered perception or widened perception of what's out there, right?
Yeah. Belief is definitely a limiter potentially. And in fact, I see this a lot. There's resistance and hesitancy to let go of. One of my friends actually told me today, I was like, we should do a tuning, man. I was even going to offer pro bono. And this is not a dig at him or anything, but he's like, I've got a good working relationship with my shadow. I don't know if I want to mess up what we got going on here and integrate some of those demons. And we can even talk about how like demons may be more of an expression of a fractured psyche than some kind of external infernal spirit there to harm. But yeah, maybe we could even talk about like the method of biofield tuning, the language of the body in that sense, and how beliefs come into play a role with that.
Yeah, that's exactly what I wanted to get into. Let's probably start with the language of the body. I know that it's communicating with us more than whether we have a sickness or illness or something is off with us. There's a lot more to it, right?
There's a lot more to it, yeah. You can even, like a really helpful belief shift to take on right away that immediately moves us out of the model that is proffered by the medical mafia would be, rather than look at the body like sort of a car that has parts that go wrong and then you go see the mechanic and they swap it out or they do some tinkering and then you're good to go. The body, in my opinion, maybe even you could call it a professional opinion, the body never does anything actually wrong. All that the body does is either to, in some way, maintain homeostasis or to communicate with us where there is an energetic, psychic, emotional issue, and it expresses through the body in that way. So the body is a mirror and it's our greatest teacher. And as a vessel that holds the life force energy that is the self-existing, universal, ordering principle of all cosmos before space and time, then actually our body has the capacity of knowing, like all knowing. And there's ways to, and it's maybe unique to each individual how they might develop the communication style and system with their body, but there are ways to tap into that. And it gets pretty profound and pretty powerful. So in terms of, though, the language that the body speaks, a really good working model to begin with is actually that notion of the 7 chakras. And then expanding on that, you can get this idea of the biofield anatomy. And I learned this particular system from a great teacher named Eileen Day McCusick. She's written a couple books on her practice. One of them that might be of interest to people who like what I'm talking about here is called Tuning the Human Biofield. And as a massage therapist, she a long time ago, she incorporated tuning forks into her practice and eventually found that people started coming to her just wanting her to use tuning forks and not even do physical massage. And in exploring this method, she discovered that in our bubble space, the approximately 6 feet of area off the body in all directions, what you would call the aura or a toroidal field, a type of electric bioplasma, that there are pockets of stuck or compartmentalized pranic energy that by their separation are constituting a cutoff of some of your own actual life force that is not in circulation and flow with the rest of your system. And B, they get there through beliefs that are limiting or expectations about life that lead you to think that you don't have the ability to do whatever it is that energy might be related to. They get there through trauma as well. And that in the sense of it being an anatomy, where that stuck energy is at in the field, in the space off of the body, can tell you when the limiting belief was put into place or where the trauma happened in their timeline. And it can tell you what, in a kind of general sense, what it is that was there, which is completely mind-blowing to a sort of materialistic nuts and bolts breakdown of how people might understand the body. So let me give a little quick example of what this is like. First of all, this bubble space around us, 6 feet apart, everyone,
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
That's not an accidental number that they threw out there during the cooties scam. But so every part of the body physically...
Would this be the same thing as what Rupert Sheldrake calls like the morphic field?
I think that there's probably some correlation there. Yeah, I'm a little rusty on Rupert's definition of all that, but I do know that I like his work and that he's on to something similar, quite likely. But so every part of the body actually has a particular generalization that stuck energy will represent there. And so as an example, a client that I worked with just last week, he'd been having pain in his right knee in a continual way. And through the Biofield anatomy that I learned from Eileen, I happen to know that stuck energy in the right knee pertains to feeling blocked by obstacles or challenges in your life that are keeping you from being able to go where you want to go. So then, in fact, the legs in general, and it makes sense. A lot of it is kind of like very literal in terms of the metaphor of how the energy works. So in terms of the legs, it always has to do with our ability to move in life or the path that we're on. Kind of the left side has more to do with the past and the right side has more to do with the future. And there's a feminine, masculine aspect, like a yin and a yang to it. But to wrap up this point, found that this guy, so as soon as I put the forks in the level of his knee and started sweeping from the outside towards the inside, first thing we found was, I immediately, so another part of this that is a little more woo is that there's a level of instant knowing that an experienced practitioner will just get a info beamed into your head, because we have a generalization here. The knee has to do with challenges and obstacles and feeling blocked by them. But, everybody's version of challenges and obstacles might be a little different from person to person, right? But I got a ding. It has to do with education, which is kind of rather specific, right? Yeah. And so the one pocket of stuck energy I found there that was the oldest had to do with when I was like, okay, where did you feel blocked or stuck due to education at around the age of 8? And then he had told me that he moved to the United States at that age, and he had been from Mexico. And so he was in a new school, speaking a second language and trying to get adept at that and learn that. So very challenging, right?
Yeah, man.
And then we found where in the ancestral river, which is kind of a particular zone of the biofield that is where stuck energy might actually have a downstream effect going back to previous generations as well, that there was a hit there, and that his grandfather, who had never graduated high school, had experienced a lot of blockage and trauma over his lack of education, not allowing him to get the type of jobs that would make him feel more fulfilled or valuable.
That's so interesting.
And then very specific, the last part was that currently in this guy's life, where he was present day, he was being passed up for promotions at his job that he really wanted because he didn't have a master's degree. He just had a bachelor's. And he felt like it would be too much debt to go into or too much time to invest to go back to school for that, but that he had the skills to do the job without the degree. And so, there's other elements to what we worked with for this individual, but a big part of what holds us back in life is that we go into situations with this posture energetically of I can't do that, or they're not going to listen to me, or they don't hear what I'm saying, or, I don't have I can't get past this obstacle. And they might not even know that they're internally holding on to that little belief. But I hope to hear back from this guy, not only that his knee pain is resolved from dealing with this stuck energy, and that also he maybe gets looked at differently from his coworkers or his superiors, that he is able to do the job without the education, that he has the energetic posture of being able to overcome obstacles like that. And so, to finish the quick and dirty summary of how tuning works for the Biofield anatomy is, you put the tuning fork in the field around their body, you sweep towards the body, you find where there's stuck energy, and then almost like clicking and dragging, you hook the vibrating fork into where the stuck energy is, and you bring it back to the physical body and deposit